We're trying to give that to folks as much as we can. Secondly, we understand that there's a lot of specific information out there that people really need. And so we are trying to get as much information out to as many people as possible to help them solve their problems and move into the system without any issues. So that's kind of the overview of the situation. What we'd like to do now is go over some of the common questions that we're getting a lot from people. And if we can answer many of those, many of you might be able to get your questions answered before we go further on. Now, as we go in though, we've got some ground rules. Number one, if you have a question for us for tonight and you're on Zoom, please put it in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. If we are not able to get to your question, please put a question into the chat box, which is also at the bottom of the screen, and give us an email. An email would be best, but some contact information where we can get back to you with an answer to your question. So once again, question for tonight in the Q&A box, question for the future, which we'll work very, very hard to respond to in the chat box at the bottom. If you are watching this on Facebook Live, please feel free to put a comment in the comment section, and we have some great staff members that are going to be going through both the Q&A parts of the Zoom and the comments portion of Facebook Live to make sure we get as many questions as we possibly can. So tonight, we've got myself, Bill McCamley, the Secretary of the Workforce Solutions Department, and we have 3 amazing staff members at Department of Workforce Solutions. We have Steve and Lynn from our training department. We actually have 4 people. We have Stacy from our Public Information Department. She's going to be watching the Facebook messages. And we have Jeanette, who is probably one of, if not the best, right, Jeanette, of our unemployment staffers, and who can answer a lot of the specific questions you have. So what we're going to do is go through 4 or 5 specific questions that we get quite a bit, have Jeanette answer them, and then I'm going to give you an update on self-employed folks and the $600 increases that people are expecting from the U.S. CARES Act, and then we'll start going to questions. Thanks for turning off your phone, whoever that was. All right, so let's start with some questions. Remember, here are the ground rules. Number 1, when you're getting your questions, please don't share your personal information, okay? We got to make sure that your social security numbers and other personal information does not get out for the general public. The last rule we have is that we are asking our staff members 3 things and asking the public 3 things through this process. Number 1, let's all try to be patient with one another. This is a brand new situation for all of us, and we're all doing our best to work through it. And if you be patient with us, we'll be patient with you. Number 2, let's all try to be kind with one another. You know, this is New Mexico. I like to joke around that there's only about 6 degrees of separation between pretty much everyone in the state. And that might be an exaggeration, but not much of one. And so if we could all try to treat each other like we're on our best behavior at Thanksgiving dinner, that'll help us all get through it better. And number 3, remember to play team ball. Every single one of us has a role to play in getting through this situation. And we're all going to work really, really hard to keep our heads up and play our roles on the team. And if we all do those things while being patient and kind, we're going to get through this and get back to normal faster rather than later. Okay, so we're going to start off with some generic questions that we get pretty commonly from people, and Jeanette's going to answer them, and hopefully we can get a lot of questions answered that way. So Jeanette, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so the most common question we get regards passwords on the website. So what are the importance of the passwords? What should I do when I get an initial password? And if I lock myself out, how do I do that? And how do I fix the problem?
Okay, so for the first part, you're going to make sure that you're logging in through the main DWS website. You want to make sure that when you create your account, it's going to send you an email. Check your junk boxes and your other boxes if you have a Gmail account. Occasionally it will go into those boxes. It will send you your username and temporary password. And in that second email, it will also have a link. You need to physically write down the temporary password, click on the link inside the email, and then physically type in that password. Once you do that, it will allow you to type in your new password and set up your security questions. If you lock yourself out, what you want to do is click on Forgot Password, it'll send you the email again. You'll follow the same process. Write down the new temporary password, click on the link, and then type it in. Do not copy and paste it. It doesn't work if there's an extra space in there. So if you've accidentally copied spaces, it will give you an error.
That's really, really good to know. And the issue is it's taken some time to get our passwords because it's not like a Google account. We actually have to make sure that we're protecting your security because your social security numbers are involved in these accounts, right, Jeanette?
Not on the initial login, as far as the initial password creation for the single sign-on where you first sign in. The only place that we're going to have the social security number is when you first link your unemployment account. And if you've had unemployment before, once you click on the umbrella, you're going to scroll down to the bottom, type in your social and your previous password. If you don't remember the previous password, go ahead and click on Forgot Password. It'll ask you to type in your social again, your date of birth, your gender, and if you had a security answer, it'll have you type in the security answer. Unfortunately, if you forget the security answer, you do have to get assistance through technical support. Okay. Do we have those emails as well posted?
We'll try to get those as we go and we can put them up, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you've never had unemployment since forever ago, prior to 2012, you've never logged in, you're going to type in your social. You type in the last four of your social. It's then going to prompt you to type in your information and then allow you to set up a temporary password. Once you set up your temporary password in question, it'll take you back to that same login screen. Type in your social again and the new temporary password. Once it's linked, you don't need that password anymore.
Okay. The second question we get quite a bit is, hey, I made a mistake when I did my initial claim. I put in a wrong reason for the reason I'm separated from my job. I may have given some wrong data on wages. If I make a mistake, what do I do to try to fix the problem?
So the easiest thing, if you just made a mistake on, say you said you were discharged due to lack of work, but you're actually still employed with reduced hours. We will go ahead, you're going to certify each week, and you're going to still report your hours as you earn the money, not as you're paid. And once the adjudicators make the determination, we will make the correct determination on your claim, so you don't have to worry about that separation. We do request information from the employer to verify, and then once we get that verification, we'll be able to make the correct determination.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Please, no, continue.
If you have decided that you don't want the debit card and you want to do direct deposit, once you log into your account, if you click on View and Maintain Account Maintenance, then click on Payment Method Options and Tax Information, it will let you edit the payment method directly on the screen. So you can click on Edit, change it to direct deposit, checking or savings. It will pre-populate with any information from the debit card. So delete everything in those three fields. Type in your routing number, click on Verify. It'll update the name to show the name of your bank, and then type in your checking account or savings account number twice. And then once you save it, it'll update your payment method.
Okay. So the next question we have is, let's say I have a determination on my account. It's saying I either have a monetary or a non-monetary determination. What does that mean in terms of the definition, and what does it mean for me as a person who's waiting to get my benefit payment?
So when you first file your claim, all correspondence that we generate will either be mailed out to you or it will be in your view correspondence, depending on your preference. If you select electronic email correspondence, it'll ask you to log into your account. you're going to click on View Correspondence. The monetary determination is going to show you what wages we're using on your claim. So what wages did we use to make you eligible? If you forgot and indicated you didn't work for an employer, those wages will not appear on this determination. So you will need to go ahead and send an email or send us back your wage and employer correction sheet with the correct information. The non-mon determinations are the determinations that affect your actual claim. So we're going to make a determination on your most recent employer to tell you whether or not you are cleared. Right now, most cases are due to the COVID, so most likely you will end up getting cleared. Occasionally, you might have one that doesn't meet the requirements, in which case you would have the ability to file an appeal, and those directions would be on that determination letter. If you're concerned about what the letter means, if you click on my home page, on the third column, there's going to be a link that says, what do my unemployment letters mean? If you click on that link, it does give you additional information as to how to read those determination letters.
Okay, and what does a determination mean? We're using some jargon here that people might not understand. So what does a determination mean, and what does adjudication mean?
So adjudication is the person who actually physically reviews your claim. We look at your separation information for both you and the employer, and then we make a decision based on unemployment law. That's what the adjudication process is. The decision or the determination is the letter that you receive telling you what that decision is. How does it affect your claim? How does it affect your benefits?
Okay, so let's say I go through and everything starts to work out. I've been adjudicated. I'm certified. Actually, let's talk about that. What is certification? How many times do I have to do it? And what's the reason for it?
So certification has to be completed each week. You're gonna, once you file your claim, it becomes available the following Sunday. The importance of the certification is that's what tells us to release money. So if you don't complete those questions each week, we're not going to know that we need to release money to your account. The questions are going to be regarding your separation. If you have already told us about your separation, you're not going to report it again. So it's going to ask you, were you discharged for the week of, and then it's going to give you the 7-day time frame. If you were not physically discharged, quit, or separated during that week, you're going to want to indicate no. If you indicate yes, it continues to make additional issues on your claim. So it's important to only tell us about the separation the first time. It's also going to ask you, for those who are who are still partially employed, it's going to say, did you work during the week of either full-time, part-time, self-employment, or military? If you worked, we are going to ask you to report your total gross wages for that 7-day time frame, along with the gross hours that you worked. If you worked a partial hours, say 5.5 hours, you want to round it to either 5 or 6 so that you don't get an error on that page.
Okay.
Once the certification is completed, as long as there's nothing holding payment, no determinations that are or decisions that are waiting to be made, payment should post to your account within 48 to 72 business hours from the date that you certify.
Okay, and you can certify online at jobs.state.nm.us, correct?
Correct, and you can certify anytime Sunday through Friday. Certifications are not available on Saturday.
Okay, so we've gone through kind of some of the common questions that we wrote down. I'm going to go over some of the things in the Federal CARES Act. We're already getting some questions in our chat about that. So for everybody listening, I'm going to go over that, and then we're going to go to questions from people from our Q&A and from Facebook. So there are 3 things that the federal government did in the CARES Act that affect unemployment. First, they approved an additional $600 payment on top of unemployment for everyone receiving an unemployment check from March 29th through the end of July. Second, they are allowing for people who are self-employed to apply for a specific program called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. Thirdly, they are allowing for people whose benefits have run out, because under regular unemployment, you only have 26 weeks where you're eligible to get unemployment. Once that is done, you generally are not allowed to get any more until the next year. What this Pandemic Unemployment Assistance did was allow people to extend their benefits. So what's the process on this? Number one, we as the Department of Workforce Solutions had to wait for the Federal Department of Labor to give us rules, specific rules for each of those programs. So we just got the rules for the $600 edition on Saturday night. We just got the rules for the self-employment portion of Pandemic Unemployment Assistance on Sunday night. And we still have not got the rules from the Department of Labor yet, as of this whole thing going down on Tuesday night, for the extension for people whose benefits have run out. So what we're going to do, our game plan is on Friday, that's our goal, is to have the dates. We're going to have at least the two things that we did get rules for available. So the $600 addition to people with unemployment and the people who are self-employed. It's going to take a few weeks. Why? Number one, we have to make sure that our computer systems are operational and can process all these things. Number two, we have to make sure that our staff is trained in how to handle these different claims. This is not something that we do normally. And so we want to make sure that we get those things right so that when we open it up for people, the system doesn't crash. Now, the good news is, as we're reading these rules, is that each of these things will be able, at least the $600 increase and the self-employment port, are going to be able to be backdated. So as an example, when we turn on the additional $600, if you were receiving benefits the week of the 29th, and then this week, and then next week, let's say we turn it on the week after that, you're going to get that $600 benefit in one chunk for each of those weeks. So that's the good thing, is we will get you the money. We're just asking for patience to make sure that we do it right so that our systems can handle everything. And this is something that every state in the country is dealing with. So that's the update on that. With that, we've still got a good 37 minutes left, and I think we want to go to some questions from the audience. So I think we want to start. We're going to go Lynn, Steve, and Stacy. So Lynn, do you have a good question for Jeanette?
Yes, I do. And before I do, please, if you would, folks, look at the rules participating in the Q&A session that's been posted here. As Secretary McCamley said, if you would like us to ask this question live, then put it in the Q&A. But if you do want follow-up after this session is over, we will be sure to follow up on any that are in the chat window. Please make sure you leave the information and some way to contact you. Okay? Thank you. So the question is from Rochelle. Are phone operators being hired? I have tried calling every day, several times a day last week. I did try calling on my appointed day and was still unable to get through. How can I get through so I can get some of my questions answered?
Sure. So Jeanette, I can take that one if you want. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so thank you very, very much for the question. We understand that there's been frustration. Here's our situation. The people that get on the phone to take your information, if they have a full set of training, it usually takes us 5 weeks to train the folks that are going to get into that system. So it's only been a couple of weeks since the situation got laid out and we started receiving a lot more people. So starting a few weeks ago, we started crash training some of our employment services staff. So these are people in the field that already have some knowledge of how unemployment works. And we've gotten most of them on the phone over the past week and a half or so. Additionally, we're looking now to try to get some additional help through a staffing agency so that we can get extended hours. I will say this, starting tomorrow, we are extending the hours for our call center. So starting at 7 in the morning rather than 8, and we'll be extending the hours till 7 in the evening. We'll be doing this for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and we're still figuring out how to make it work in the future, but we should be able to make that work in perpetuity. So once again, we're very, very sorry for the amount of traffic we've had on the phone. The last thing I'll say about calling on the phone is this: you don't have to call on Monday. We've been trying to ask people to call based on the last digit of their social security number. So 0 to 3 call on Monday, 4 to 6 call on Tuesday, 7 to 9 call on Wednesday, with Thursday and Friday left over for people that missed their days. If you want to apply, it doesn't matter whether you are applying on Monday or applying on Friday. And so one of the things we get is everybody tries to call in on Monday, and Monday's the worst day to call in because that's when we have our highest traffic. If you get through on Thursday or Friday, it's okay. We'll have the same amount of service on Thursday and Friday than on Monday, and you won't receive any more time lags for your payments. Thank you, Lynn. Oh, sorry. So let's go to Steve for the next question.
All right. And Jeanette, I know you covered this a bit as far as the adjudication process and the timeline, but we're still getting several questions in that. I have a question specifically from Samantha, who asked, how long does it take to process a claim? I have 14 employees who have applied. 2 have been processed, but the others are still pending. The first person who applied nearly three weeks ago still has not been approved. So can you guys just talk a bit more to that?
So the total determination process to completely process a claim can take 4 to 6 weeks, even prior to everything that's going on currently. We have to, by law, allow the employers 10 days to respond to all questionnaires that we send them, and then we work the work items in the order that we receive them. We are working as diligently as we can to get everybody cleared out as fast as we can. If a person has sent in a monetary wage and employer correction sheet, that will hold up payment on your claim until somebody can physically check it out. So please only send that form in if your wages are wrong and you're needing us to correct them. If your wages look fine, please don't send that in, just keep it for your records. That way we can work on getting the determinations made and payment released. If your separation is considered a layoff, those do not hold up payment. So you will see that there are pending issues on your claim. Know that the pending issues are the separations for each employer. We do look at all employers for the last 18 months so that we can add all of that money onto your claim and make you eligible for the maximum benefit amount. The employers that are not your last employer do not hold payment. They are just merely for the department to make the decision how it affects the employer's account. Otherwise, it will, your most recent separation is what's going to make the determination on your eligibility.
And when you mean separation, Jeanette, you mean the separation means when you left the job.
So separation is the reason you filed for unemployment. So it could be you're on a leave of absence because your employer says you're coming back after the time frame when they're able to reopen. You could be still employed with reduction in hours. You could have quit. You could have been laid off due to lack of work. So whatever that employment trigger that happened for you to cause to have to file for unemployment, that is what we mean when we talk about a separation.
Okay. So thank you for answering that. So let's go to Stacy. Do you have another question from Facebook's?
I have another question here. It says, I see that there are pending issues in my claim, but there is nothing in my inbox for me to respond to. I applied last week and certified that week on Sunday. When will I get my first check?
So keep in mind those pending issues are each decision that we have to make on your claim. If you just barely filed your claim, they will be pending for a period of time. The first week on unemployment is considered a waiting week. So that first week that you certify is not going to release payment. The second week is your first payable week. If you are still working and reporting some earnings, the earnings do have to be under what you qualified for weekly in order for us to release payment or establish that waiting week. So it just depends on if you reported earnings or not. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, and actually, can I add something to that, Jeanette?
Uh-huh.
So we just had someone kind of chat with us and saying 5 to 6 weeks, that's insane. You know, we need to get people their benefit payments earlier. People need the money, and we hear you. So starting this week, we are starting a program of what we call auto-adjudication. So as where before this whole situation, we were going through each and every application and looking through them one by one. What we're doing now is actually saying, okay, there's a whole lot of people that are in this category. There's a whole lot of people are in this category. And starting this week, we're going to be starting to process those folks in groups rather than one by one. And so that should actually speed up the process quite a bit. Jeanette, did I get that right?
Yes, that is correct. And
Okay.
we have those prioritized based on the number of people being affected by those determinations that are
Gotcha.
holding payment.
Thank you. So Lynn, let's go to another question.
All right. This is from Jules. Jules asks, can contract workers who file with an ITIN receive unemployment compensation if their contracts have been terminated?
Bill, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so once again, we addressed this in the beginning, but I think some people might have gone on later. We also had some chats when people were asking about both self-employed folks and people who've had their benefits run out. So once again, the federal government passed the bill allowing for self-employed people to get on and allowing for people who've had their benefits run out to have them extended. The problem with that is that we need the rules from the federal government first. We just got the rules for the self-employed part late Sunday night, and we haven't gotten the rules yet for the part that would allow people who've had their benefits exhausted to apply again. Once we get those rules, it takes us some time to basically build a whole new system, because what you're going to do if you're in one of those two situations is you're going to apply, you're going to get denied, and you're going to go into a second lane called pandemic unemployment assistance. Our goal at the department is on Friday to be able to announce the dates that we're going to have those ready by. It's still going to be a few weeks. This isn't like turning on a light switch. It's a very complicated program, and states around the country are all in the same boat. But I promise you, we are working as hard and as fast as we possibly can to get those programs running. And like I said, the good thing is once we do get those programs running, at least for the self-employed part, you're going to be able to backdate your the reason that you're applying for this. So once again, if you're a musician at the Santa Fe Opera who got laid off on March 17th, according to how we read the rules now, when we get that system going, you'll be able to backdate your pandemic unemployment assistance claim to that date. And then once we get you through the system, you'll receive all the payments for all those weeks. So let's go to Steve for the next question.
All right, this question is from an anonymous attendee asking, if my daughter is getting paid until April 14th, when should she apply for unemployment?
So if she's being paid her full salary through April 14th, I don't know what date that falls on currently, but she will want to file that next Sunday. So if the 14th falls on a Thursday or Friday, you'll want to file the following Sunday through Friday. If the 14th falls on a Monday through Wednesday, then go ahead and file that week, and you'll report your earnings when you do that first certification.
Okay, let's go to Stacy for the next question.
So this one is, I was on unemployment for 26 weeks and my claim became exhausted on March 1st. During this epidemic, so many questions I have. Can I file for an extension on my claim?
Okay, so the answer to that is not yet. That's part of that pandemic unemployment assistance program that I talked about, that we are still waiting for the rules on the federal government from. Once we get those rules, we can start planning out how we open up pandemic unemployment assistance for people who've had their benefits exhausted. When we get that done, we will let you know the date that that will be ready by, and that you can apply to have extended benefits through that program. But we don't have that ready yet. I promise we're working as hard, as fast as we can to get these extra programs up and running. But this one, we actually are still waiting for the federal government to give us their guidelines from. Once we get that, we'll move forward from there. Let's go to Lynn for the next question, please.
Yes, thank you, Bill. And before I begin, I would like to remind the audience to please, if you are using the chat window, in other words, you would like some follow-up after this meeting, please put your contact information in there. I'm seeing a lot of great questions, but I'm not seeing a lot of contact information. Please help us to get back with you by putting your contact information. Thank you. So my question is from Steve. Just trying to find out how long can I expect it to take to get a payment. I applied on March 22nd.
So, Steve, the first week is going to be your waiting week. So that first certification that you completed on the 29th, 28th, somewhere around that time frame of March was your waiting week. The second payable week is the one that we just completed that people started certifying for on April 5th. If you indicated that you were reduction in hour, you have a leave of absence, we do have to make that decision before we can release payment. You can check the status of all the determinations that you're waiting on. If you click on the menu that's on the left-hand side, if you're on a mobile device, you'll click on the 3 lines at the top left corner. Then you're going to click on View and Maintain Account Information, and then Issues and Determinations. If you scroll down to the bottom of that page, it's going to show you each pending issue on your claim. If it is holding payment, under the payment history, you will see a hold. As soon as that decision is made, it will update the hold to paid under the payment history link, and you then could expect the payment within 48 to 72 hours.
Okay, and I want to add something to that. So starting this week, we have made the decision to waive the waiting week. So traditionally in unemployment, there's generally a week between when you file and when you can start getting your payments from unemployment. We are getting rid of that starting tomorrow. And so for people that have applied after March 15th, you should be, for the last 3 weeks, you should be getting an additional payment because we're moving that up. That means you have 1 week less of eligibility, but we hear over and over again how people need money in their pocket now, and we're making that work as best as we can by waiving that week. If you're going to apply from here on out, it means you're going to get your benefits sooner because we don't have to wait for that waiting week. So thank you very much, Jeanette. I believe Steve is the next on the list for the next question.
Yes. And our next question asking, so we are able to get through
Hey,
1
Steve.
week to certify. Yes,
We had trouble understanding the first part of that question. Can you read it again, please?
sure. If you are unable to get through 1 week to certify, is that money just gone?
No, so we do allow 2 weeks that you can certify before a claim goes inactive. Right now, we have not been running that. So some people have been able to certify up to 3 weeks if they haven't been able to get in to complete their certification. But you do definitely get 2 weeks. So if you didn't complete it last week for the week ending March 28th, that certification is still available along with your certification for April 5th, or April 4th, I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's go to our next question from Stacy. Stacy, are you there?
Here I am. I'm so sorry.
There you are.
It says I have, sorry, I have already started receiving payments in my direct deposit. How exactly does the additional amount that the federal government authorized get to me?
All right, so I'll take that one. So when we get the additional $600 program working, and once again, we'll know a date for that, hopefully on Friday, for when we can get the mechanism working for that. You're automatically going to receive in your account, because basically once we get the program working, we flip a switch and turn it on. You should, if everything's working well, and you've been receiving unemployment, say from last week, this week, and next week, you should receive all of those payments in one chunk. And then from there on out, for the until the end of the 13 weeks that program is in place, you should get whatever you're getting with unemployment plus the $600 on top of it. This should be a fairly simple process once we can make our software system work, but that's really what we're working on right now. I don't think you should have to do anything in particular to make that happen. It's already going to be automatic. So thank you for that. And let's go back to Lynn for the next question.
Thank you, Bill. So this is from an anonymous attendee. They say, I have staff that submitted their claim on March 15th and 16th, but I have not yet received any type of wage verification by mail. Is that common?
So you need, the big thing on an employer account and getting your preference is, how was the account set up when it was initially created? If an employer has email as the primary correspondence preference, then we're not going to be mailing out those monetary or separation questionnaires. You would have to be able to log into your employer account and complete those under inbox. If you have a third-party representative that normally responds for all of your unemployment questionnaires, then that third-party representative is still going to get the notification, and they would be the one to reach back out to the employer to get the information that we're requesting. You do have to be a user on the employer account that has been given permission to respond to separation. So you might want to check with your account administrator in the office and verify where that email notification is going if you're not getting them by mail. That way you know that that person needs to be notifying you that they are getting emails, that documentation is pending.
Cool. Thank you for that, Jeanette. Really appreciate it. So moving on to our next question from Steve.
All right, this question is from Rochelle. She asked, I used the last of my PTO during the week I was furloughed from work due to COVID-19. How does that affect my unemployment application? I did report it for the first weekly certification.
Okay, so since you reported it, you will be fine that first week, since you were still technically employed and you used your personal time off and you reported it, it's fine. The second week, you just report that you do not have any earnings. It's going to ask you why on the certification, and you're going to let us know that it was due to the discharge due to lack of work. And then we will set up the waiting week depending on when you initially filed, or as Secretary McCamley stated, some people will be eligible for payment at that time, and then we will continue moving forward with your unemployment claim.
Thank you, Jeanette. And so we're next going to go to Stacy for another question.
Okay, this question is from Lola. She says, I am an independent contractor living in New Mexico, and I work remotely online for a company in California. What state do I apply in?
That's a good question. Jeanette, do you know the answer for that, for the pandemic unemployment assistance?
Yeah, so it's going to be, I don't know for the pandemic unemployment assistance, but typically it's where you physically work and earn the money. So if you are physically located in the state of New Mexico, and that is where you're working and earning the money, then typically that's where wages would be reported if they were reportable. I would assume that that will go the same for the pandemic unemployment assistance, but I do not know that detail right off the top of my head.
And Lola, I think on that one, and once again, these are the information from the federal government we're still kind of sifting through. We still need to find out what kind of documentation you're going to need. So if you're paying your income taxes here in New Mexico, which I assume you would be doing, you will probably be applying here, but that's a question that we'll write down and we'll get you an answer for. That's not one we can give you a hard answer for right now, but we'll find out. Thank you for that. So I believe that was Stacy. So let's go back to Lynn for the next question.
Okay, thank you. This is from Sean. Sean says, is there a way to begin uploading documents or correspondence to the online NMDWS portal since faxing and calling in has been difficult?
That is a great question. You can definitely upload. The key to the uploads is you need to be able to have it in a PDF format or a picture JPEG format. The file size needs to be 10 megabytes or less. When you are filling out your initial questionnaire and you hit submit, it's going to say, do you wish to provide additional documentation? If you select yes and you hit next, the third option is for upload. You hit next one more time and it's going to let you search your device for that document. And as long as it meets the requirements and you hit next, it will give you a confirmation saying that the documents have been successfully uploaded. If you do not have a questionnaire, but you want to provide additional documentation, you log into your unemployment claim, click on the view and maintain account information on the left-hand side. You're going to go to issues and determinations, and you're going to select the numbers related to the issue for that employer or work item. So for example, if you worked for Applebee's and it's still pending, you're going to click on the blue numbers. It's going to take you to a page that gives you the checkbox that you wish to provide additional information. You're going to hit next. It's going to ask you how you want to provide that information, and then you'll go through the same process of being able to upload it directly into the computer. You can also add additional notes. When you click on that link, there is a box where you can physically type in a note related to that separation, and that does go to your claim and work items so that staff can see that.
That was an excellent question. That's actually one I've not heard before. So thank you very much, sir, for that question. I believe that was Stacy. So we're back to Lynn.
Okay, we have one from an anonymous attendee who says, my nephew had just started a new job in February. On March 10th, he lost his cleaning job due to COVID. He applied for UI, but was denied due to not making enough in a quarter. Since he did not qualify for UI, will he be able to receive the pandemic unemployment insurance assistance? And if so, how does he apply for that assistance? And I know some of those answers might not be ready yet, but
yeah.
So
That's a very good question. The pandemic unemployment assistance was set up for folks who normally wouldn't get unemployment assistance. So as an example, if you're a server and you're only making the minimum tipped wage before your tips, generally, and in regular unemployment, you may not get into the unemployment system because you didn't make enough reportable wages. The answer is, I think so, and we need to find out. But we think that pandemic unemployment assistance is going to be available for those folks who do not normally get into the unemployment system. Can we write that one down, Lynn, and kind of put that on our FAQs? Because the answer is, I think the answer is yes, but we don't want to say yes until we find that out. And this will help us move forward. So when the pandemic unemployment assistance comes out, ma'am or sir, we will try to do our best to make sure you have that answer. Thank you.
And to that point, Bill, if that person would like us to contact them directly on that question, please go ahead and repeat that question in the chat box with your contact information. Otherwise, we will answer that question in a general way anyway. But if you would like a personal reply to that question, please put that in the chat box.
Cool, thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Let's go to our next question from Steve, please.
Hey, Secretary,
oh, yeah,
can
Jeanette,
I add on?
please.
Sorry, can I add on to that one?
Yeah.
So a lot of people want to know how they qualify for unemployment. So right now, the wages that we are using are, if you filed prior to April 5th, we were using October of 2018 through September of 2019. The minimum requirement to qualify for unemployment is your high quarter has to be at least $2,089.72 in one quarter, which is a 3-month time frame, plus at least $1 in another quarter. We do an alternate base. So say you do not have enough money between October of 18 to September of 19, we will then look at all of 2019 to try to make those wages so that you can be eligible. For people who filed their claim starting this Sunday, the 5th, we are using all of 2019 to make you eligible for your unemployment. So as long as you add all of your employers, whether they're only New Mexico or they're New Mexico and another state, then we will request wages to make you eligible on the account. If your only wages during that time frame are from an out-of-state employer because you just moved to New Mexico, you would want to file in the state where you physically worked, because New Mexico won't be able to make you eligible because we do not own those wages. Does that help?
It does, thank you. So let's go to our next question. Steve, were you the next person up?
Yes.
Cool.
All right, Mo asked, I applied in March rather, and have an appeal. I have an appointment on the 15th for the hearing, but is that going to affect my claim because of it?
So if you have an appeal that's pending and you filed the appeal because it negatively affected your claim, it will continue to negatively affect your claim until the appeal has been heard with the appeals tribunal judge. You do get documents that tell you you do need to call in and verify your attendance for that appeal hearing within a certain time frame. Right now, they are accepting those phone calls. You do have to leave a message, and then one of the staff members will call you back to confirm the phone number to call you back for the appeal. And then once it's heard and a determination or decision from the judge has been entered, if they reverse it back into your favor, then we'll go ahead and release all payments that you were eligible to receive that were previously denied. And if you have an appeal for something that doesn't affect your payment, so maybe you got denied for a back date, or maybe you were denied on adding a dependent onto your claim, those ones do not affect payment. And so waiting for that appeal will not affect how your claim is moving forward.
It's a good question. Thank you. So let's move on to our next question. Stacy, I believe you were the next one in the hopper, right?
Sure. So this question is from Michelle. If an employee was laid off due to COVID-19 and are offered their same job back at the same previous wage, can they deny the offer and keep collecting unemployment?
So that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
That will affect your unemployment benefits. If you are offered a job with that same employer and you fail to accept the job, same terms and conditions, that will affect your unemployment benefits moving forward.
Okay, thank you for the question. So let's go back up to Lynn.
Thank you. This one is from Eric, who says, I filed an unemployment claim online on March 22nd. How do I know if it's being processed correctly? And how long might it take to be approved and receive the benefits?
So one way that you can definitely check the status of your claim is log into your unemployment claim, click on the umbrella. If you see the first page when it logs in on your claim homepage, it's going to tell you what you qualify for monetarily. It's also going to, if you do not meet the monetary, it will show zeros. You will also get correspondence inside your view correspondence. So you can see there what decisions have already been made, and if there's anything you need to do to send in copies of check stubs or W-2s to fix wages that may be aren't reported yet. The other way to check it again is to go to view and maintain account information, issues and determinations, and see what separation or what work issues are currently pending on your account. And that will help you see where your claim is in the process.
Cool. Thank you very much for that. So let's go to Steve for another question.
All right, from Anonymous. How long are the work search requirements going to be waived?
All right,
Will
so
the
I'll,
waiver,
yeah, I'll take that one.
Okay, will the waiver align with the governor's stay-at-home order?
Right, so we originally waived the work search requirements for 4 weeks. I believe it was starting on March 15th. We are extending those till the end of April, and we will be working with the governor's office to try to align those as closely as we can. That's a good question, and yes, that is our general rule of thumb on this, but we'll be working with the governor's office to make sure we're doing the best job that we can to see all the health information as it comes in and then determine where we go forward. But as of now, we did extend it until the end of April, and we'll be reevaluating when we get there. So thank you for that, Steve. Let's go to another question from Lynn.
Yes, and I think this is maybe the last question of the evening, Bill.
Well, let's do one more round because we did start a couple minutes late. So let's give people some time. So we'll go Lynn, Steve, and Stacy.
All right, very good. This one is from Anonymous, who says, I am an independent contractor and filed for assistance due to a large reduction in clients and income. I was denied. I assume because the system wasn't set up yet. However, I think I am required to certify weekly while I wait for things to get worked out. I don't see any way to do that on the website. If I don't do that while I'm waiting, will I be denied?
So that is a great question. Right now, we do understand that you are unable to certify because we are not able to process your claim. Once we are able to process the claim, like Secretary McCamley said, we will be able to go back prior weeks for contractors and self-employed. At that time, you would be able to certify for those weeks that you are currently not able to certify for.
And Jeanette, let me just follow up on that. So what does that mean specifically? When we opened up pandemic unemployment assistance for self-employed, contractor, gig economy workers, when you get accepted into the system, you're going to have to back and certify for every single week from the date that you want to start. That should be a pretty easy process, and you should be able to do it all at once. And once you do that, the payment for all of those weeks will be added up and get into your account 48 to 72 hours later. Jeanette, am I correct in that?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to Steve for the next question.
All right, this one is from Vic. Are claimants required to report stimulus monies when they receive from the federal government, such as the $1,200 per taxpayer as earned wages?
So that's a question for me. The answer is we don't know that yet. We need to figure that out from the federal government, specifically from the Department of Labor. I imagine that's going to be a question that a lot of states are going to have to answer since everybody's getting one of those. But we will find that out, and we will make sure that we put it on our frequently asked questions. That's a good question. We're figuring that out. Thank you. All right, so let's go to Stacy. She's the last on our list, and this will be our last question for the evening.
Okay, the question is from Julie. What type of documentation will self-employed individuals need to provide to show a loss of work?
And once again, that's another question that we don't have the answer to yet. Like I said, we just got a very, very large packet of rules on Sunday night. We're still going through them, and that's one of the questions that we need to get answered. We will hopefully on Friday have a date that we can get the system implemented by, as well as those kind of instructions so that you can be prepared when we open that up in the last part of April. So once again, everybody, thank you. One more time, if you have a question that we were not able to get to in this town hall, can you put it in the chat box on Zoom if you're watching on Zoom, with your contact email, and we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. We want to thank you all very, very much for watching this. I just want to say personally how strongly proud I am of the staff at Workforce Solutions. I promise you, everybody is working their tails off to try to make sure that as many people get the most help we can possibly get them. And if you can stay patient and kind with us, we will do our very, very best to get as many of you processed in as fast a time as we possibly can. One more time, you know, Governor Lujan Grisham has been very strong. Please practice social distancing. Please don't go out of your house unless you absolutely have to. And please wash your hands constantly. That's the best way for us to flatten the curve, beat this disease, and get back to normal as soon as we can. Thank you all very, very much for attending. We'll get back to you as much as we can. And the next time we do one of these, we'll let you know as well. Appreciate everybody and hope everyone has a great Tuesday night.
Okay.